That's the thing yesterday. But I would like to actually not just talk at you. I'd like you to play around a little bit with some of the, especially the foam rolling and the stretching. I can show you a couple of strength training things to do. And then in going through all of the things that I've collected, I've done this presentation once before. I just changed things up a little bit. But I've got some YouTube links that you can, I'll for sure send off to you that you can utilize. And that's about it. So can I share my screen? Do I have share abilities?
Yeah, you should be able to. Let me know if there's an issue.
Oh, okay. Yep. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to talk for a little bit. We'll try to make this as interactive as possible. I just recently moved and haven't quite got my office slash gym area set up. So you're going to see I've got two e-bikes back here. I'm on the coast, so all of my bikes stay inside where the temperature is. They're too expensive to put out there. So anyway, so today what I wanted to talk to you guys about is something called upper lower cross syndrome. It's definitely something in the training world that is discussed a lot, but not so much to the cyclists. And it can really hinder or improve your performance. And also, just in general, it can keep you cycling for longer and for sure more comfortably if you can address any issues that you may or may not even know that you have. So we're going to talk today about what it is. Why is it even more so common among cyclists? How does addressing the issue improve your performance, reduce discomfort, and also prevent injury? And then, as I mentioned, I do want to make this more of an interactive thing. So we're going to get down on the ground. You don't have to, but I would love for you to play around a little bit. That way, as you're working through some of the movement, you might come up with questions or you might feel something like, "Ooh, that doesn't feel so good." Or, "Hey, that feels really awesome. What do I need to do consistently?" So what is the definition of upper lower cross syndrome? Basically, as this shows, it can happen in your the upper portion of your and also the lower portion of your trunk. It's basically an imbalance between your muscles, right? So generally, in a nutshell, something could be really tight in the front of your body, and it's going to impact the back of your body in some way, shape, or form. Or it could work in this cross pattern where your something going on in your right shoulder could affect your left hip because in our torso we have what are called slings. And you've got slings in the front, you've got slings in the back. So it's really important when you're training often to try to address both things at one time when you're trying to strengthen your core. We'll go a little bit more into what each of these is in some upcoming slides. Oh, okay, so what is lower cross syndrome generally? And this is going to be general for everybody, not just specifically for cyclists, but it's most often going to be tight hip flexors. So in here and lower back, the erector spinae. And then when these things are tight, then our glutes can be weak and our abdominal muscles can be weak. So you're really kind of playing with both tightness and weakness, and usually they're in opposition of one another. As far as lower cross syndrome, let's see, come on. What are some of the symptoms? So if your hip flexors are tight, it can kind of pull your pelvis forward and under. Or, and that's more typical of cyclists, or you could see somebody with an excess arch in the lower back. A lot of times you might present with lower back pain or stiffness. Again, the hip tightness or just discomfort. And what impact that has on you is that you've got less stability within your hips here, this whole pelvic region, and also your abdomen. And a lot of times you'll have difficulty maintaining posture during activities. So this is very relatable to rotational athletes as well. And so I also train golfers. And what I see a lot of times when it comes to the upper lower cross syndrome is they can't maintain lower body or potentially upper body stability. So your body is going to do what you tell it to do one way or another, like hit the golf ball. But the way you go about that, your body will adjust and it'll make up for those imbalances, the tightness and the weakness. So it's still going to make things happen. But as a result of making those things happen and not having proper stability or mobility within the joints, it can actually cause injury and really inhibit your ability to play or do whatever sport you love to do. Anybody currently experiencing any of those symptoms like tight hips? Yeah. And does it feel worse when you're riding or before you're riding or after you're riding or not so much? You can feel free to drop in the comments or just take yourself off mute and answer.
I would say for me, it's mostly running. My back gets even more so after I run. The biking usually isn't too bad for shorter durations, but longer durations, I can have
Yeah,
issues.
for sure. And that's
It's
100%
sitting. It's like
posture.
sitting right now.
Sitting bothers you, Jane?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm do
yeah,
better when I'm moving.
I hear you. All
Hmm.
right. And then we have upper cross syndrome. So you can see in this picture kind of what it looks like, the forward head position. And a lot of times what presents is you'll have really tight chest muscles or back here in your upper traps. And what then tends to be weak is those deep neck flexors and your lower traps and your rhomboids. And I'll talk about ways to kind of fix or address the problem in a little bit. So again, symptoms, rounded shoulders, that forward head posture, hunchback appearance, neck pain, stiffness, upper back tension or discomfort, reduced shoulder mobility, and headaches, often due to that muscle strain in the neck. Anybody experiencing any of those symptoms? And does it feel worse when you ride?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So why cyclists? Why does this impact us? Just looking at the riding posture, it's very easy, especially when you're going for long durations, to be able to maintain a perfect posture, right? It requires a lot of abdominal strength, who would think, right? Spine strength, even upper trap, your rhomboids, all of that back there requires a lot of strength to maintain that posture. And again, it gets harder the longer you ride to be able to maintain that posture. And I don't know if you've ever, ridden side by side in a little Peloton, or watched people go past you as they're riding, but I don't know how many times I've seen like that really rounded upper body posture. And that actually really inhibits your breath too. So just doing a posture check, or if you're stopping and you're at a light, reaching back onto your saddle, grabbing hold, opening up your chest, taking that posture break, doing a couple of these, doing a couple of these. For sure, making sure that you're doing a nice little warm up, some foam rolling before you even jump on that bike. But the position alone is of forward flexion, which also ironically is how we spend the majority of our day, right? Most of us sleep in a fetal position, we eat, then we drive our cars, we ride our bikes. It's constant that we're in this position. And it gets worse as you get older. So just something to keep addressing is making sure that you're doing proper movement, proper stretching. And again, making sure that you're addressing, especially if you want to continue cycling. One of the greatest things about this sport is you can do it well into your 80s, right? But in order to do that and do so without pain, you want to make sure you're staying on top of these things, working on your flexibility, your mobility, and your stability so that your back's not killing you, your neck's not killing you, and whatever else it may lead to. So what would some signs and symptoms for cyclists be? Again, the rounded shoulders, the forward head posture, lower back discomfort, upper back tension or discomfort, and then just the difficulty being able to maintain power due to either weak glutes or tight hip flexors. Daisy has decided it's time to play. Hopefully she won't start barking. So what could some additional potential causes be? We lead a sedentary lifestyle. I mean, honest to God, this is so crazy. I just got new ceiling fans in my house, and I have an Echo or an Alexa in my bedroom, and I can tell Alexa to turn my ceiling fan on. Echo, stop. So there's just so much less that we do for ourselves, like getting up and actually physically changing the TV. Hunter, you probably weren't even born while that used to happen, but back in the day, we would have to get up from the couch to change the channel. And there's just everything is automated for us, so we don't move as much. And yes, we do sit a lot more, especially if you have a desk job. So I always say, like, however much more movement you can put into your day, like get extra steps in, make sure that you have an accountability to someone about getting movement in throughout your day, because it really goes a long way. The more we move our bodies, the more we generate what's called synovial fluid in our joints. My mom just turned 80. I can't tell you how many times I've said to her, Mom, did I say 80? 90. I've constantly just told her about you got to move or you're going to lose it. Move it or lose it all the time. She gets tired of me saying it. But then again, poor posture during activities like when you're cycling or when you're driving, if you're just sitting at the wheel cruising. And also, by the way, holding your phone. Majority of the times, we're in this position looking at our phone. Kind of annoying, but just lift your phone up so that it's closer in front of your eyes so that you're not dropping that head. Or every time you're going to drop down and look at the phone, then lift your chin up and reverse the movement, right? So just make sure that you're getting that stretch in as we get older. And I've noticed this myself too. I'm just tighter here, not my skin, my muscles. So we know that all of our posture and all of these activities and the sedentary lifestyle is really causing us to have these additional issues that we didn't used to have when we were younger. But even they're starting to say kids today are for holding their phones and being on their computers, they're starting to have that forward head posture. And for every degree forward your head is, it puts so much more downward pressure on your spine. So just think about, how you can counteract that with stretching, chin up, and I'll show you some of those stretches in a little bit. But again, we talk about the imbalance between the strength and flexibility, and usually they are in opposition of one another. And again, how does it impact our cycling performance? Reduced efficiency and power, increased risk of overuse injuries. So lower back pain, definitely neck strain. And for sure, as we spoke about a little bit earlier, just decreased comfort. The longer you ride, the more uncomfortable you get. And it's not just your sits bones, right? So what are some of the ways that we can prevent this? I think you had somebody come on and talk about bike fitting. I missed that though, unfortunately. I did have a professional bike fit done on my road bike. Have not done that on my mountain bike. I don't ride that as much, but really have somebody look at your posture when you're sitting on the bike in your riding position. Bike fitter can adjust your handlebar bars up, down, forward, back, your seat height up, down, forward, back, just where the placement of your cleats are on your shoes. I mean, if you've never had a bike fit done and you ride a lot, I highly would recommend that because they have all the tools to make sure that you're at least set up properly. And then we have corrective exercise and stretches, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. For sure, you can probably see my foam roller back there. Maybe not, I might be blocking it. But lots of different myofascial tools that you can use. For sure, breath work, and we're going to do a little bit of that. Sounds silly. And there's a program that I love that I actually start all my workouts with, no matter what it is that I'm doing, called Pressing Reset. It's called Original Strength, that is the name of the program. And some of the links that I want to send you guys after this are going to be included in that. And then obviously, strength training in general regularly is really going to help prevent the weakness issues.
I love when things just work out. I was working on our newsletter over the weekend for the next one I'll send out this month. And in there, I put a video about Taylor Niv working with her strength coach. And the first 5 minutes of the video is her doing these like breathing and neck exercises laying on the ground. So this is like the irony of like how in line this all is awesome.
Perfect. And we didn't even talk before
I know. So everyone will get that link, that newsletter probably this week, but it was a super cool video. And I was like, this, like one of the top triathletes in the world is taking time in her strength training to do this, which was super cool for me to see.
Absolutely. Well, people just think that, whatever. But I mean, you think about your diaphragm is the basis of your breath, right? I'll show you a few things that I used to do in my gym with my clients, but every workout, no matter what it is that I'm doing, I always start with breath work and some silly things that you would think were silly on the floor. So we'll be doing that in a little bit. But as far as corrective exercises, and this would really pertain for like any kind of activity that you're doing, but for sure for cycling, if you can get, I don't really have a good doorway right here to show you, but get yourself in a door jam. And I actually like doing multiple positions and also multiple ways of holding your hands. So you might want to start up here. The door jam is obviously on either side of your arms and you're facing inward. So my hands are up, then I just kind of work my way down and just try to step through as you're doing that stretch. Another great thing to use for that, if you have a suspension trainer or a TRX, that's wonderful because then you don't have to reposition anything and you can really get a good stretch. And then what do you want to strengthen? You want to work on your back. So any kind of rows, you can do resistance bands, suspension trainer, dumbbells, they work, sandbags, and then just doing some chin tucks for your neck. And then as far as lower cross syndrome, you want to make sure that you're stretching the hip flexor. And I just pulled up a video that Tim Anderson, who is the creator of that original strength program, he's got a great one for hip flexor where you're in a half kneeling position. I don't know if you guys can see me. You're in a half kneeling position and you come forward and then he has you rock back, and then eventually you're standing all the way up. Another good one that can be kind of nasty, but if you're really trying to get into your quad and your hip flexors, is working your way into the corner of a wall. So I got my knee jammed into the corner, and then I'll bring my other foot forward, and whew, I just did some major riding and leg workout this weekend, so I'm pretty sore. But then trying to bring yourself upright, I got my butt right back there on my heel. You may not be able to get your knee into that corner right away, so it's okay if you just have it forward of the wall, or you can grab a stretching strap, but really getting deep into those hip flexors. Cat-cow, if you've ever done yoga, is this. So inhale, belly button to the floor. Exhale, belly button to spine, and arch your back. And then what you want to strengthen is your booty and your core. And I can show you a good glute test to check for weakness in a second once we start playing, that I actually use with my golfers. But because we do sit a lot, we're in this position a lot, the tendency is all of these muscles in the back of our body, because everything's tight here, tends to get elongated. And when you think about like a rubber band stretched out at its longest position, right? Is it going to be stronger or is it going to be weaker? Especially as that rubber band gets older, right? It's going to get a little cruddy and could potentially snap. So just keep that in mind. All right. Any questions so far? Okay, let's play. So if you guys want to join me, I'm going to go over that original strength stuff. You don't need anything for this part, but I do want you to feel it. So what you're going to do, and really you can breathe in any position possible. Sometimes if my clients are having lower back pain, I'm actually going to exit out of this for a second so I can see you all better. Stop share. Plenty of different ways that you can breathe, but my favorite is face down with my hands just stacked and placing them down on my forehead. So once you're in that position, I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose and place your tongue on the roof of your mouth as you're breathing. I want you to take the breath in through your nose, and I want you to send that breath all the way down to your belly or your lower back. And you should actually be able to feel your belly pushing into the ground as you breathe. So taking deep breaths in all the way down into that belly. So if I had my hand on your lower back, my hand would be raising up. And I would do probably like 4 cycles of that breath. Next is propping yourself up. Oh, and other ways to breathe. You can breathe with your knees into your chest. You can breathe with your feet down and place your hands on your belly, especially if you have trouble like feeling that that breath is coming all the way down into your belly and feeling like your lower back is rising. You could put one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and then just feel that air going in. I just like being in this position because it gives my my tummy a little stretch, and it also helps get me out of flexion, right? All right, so now we're propped up on our forearms. Your tongue is still on the roof of your mouth. And you're going to lead with your eyes. So all of these movements are going to be led with our eyes. You're going to start with your head down, chin tucked, and you're going to inhale, lead with your eyes, full range of motion, come all the way up, and then exhale and come all the way down. And again, I'll probably do 4 or 5 reps that way. And if it doesn't feel good on your belly, you can also do this from a seated position. If I do it from a seated position, I prefer to have my legs out like this. And then you're going to go chin to shoulder and then chin to shoulder. So still staying propped up. Take a breath. Your eyes lead the way. And your chin is going to tuck that shoulder. And I'm actually looking at my opposite foot, trying to find my heel, and then going to the other side. And it's okay if your hips come up off the floor as you do that. But what this is really doing is connecting your upper body into your lower body, warming up your lower back. Feels pretty good, doesn't it? All right, now my next favorite one is called rolling, and there's different ways that you can roll too. But this is my favorite. It's called segmental rolling, and it can be challenging because you're really trying not to use any momentum from the other parts of your body that you're not moving. So think about this if you were watching a baby that was just learning how to turn over, whether they're turning from their front to their back or vice versa. So I'm going to take and I do have a shoulder injury, by the way. So I don't have great mobility in my right shoulder currently, working on that. But my thumb is going to be up, and I'm going to start on my belly, and I'm just going to watch that thumb, and I'm going to let that thumb lead me all the way over to my back. And then just as if I were a baby reaching for a toy, I'd come back in the same way, not using any momentum from my lower body. It's all coming from my upper body, and then flop over. So I'll usually do 2 upper. So you can try that. Head is up. Remember, you're always leading with your eyes. Reach, 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 and never holding your breath. Always exhaling with that movement. One side may be harder than the other, and if you're finding that you need to kick off, you might want to do upper and lower together, which would look like that. It's a little bit easier. But if you can do it segmentally, it's really great to warm up your back and your abdomen. So you would do both sides. And again, you want to lead with your eyes, lead with your initial arm, and just your legs are dead. Like if you were paralyzed, that's how it would feel. And then you would do the same thing with your upper body. So both hands are overhead. I'm lifting my right foot up. I'm exhaling, flop. And then I pull that right knee into my chest, bring it across my body, across my hip, and then I straighten my leg last minute. And again, all of that's going to be done with your breath, but you can feel when you do that right, the connection between your shoulder and your opposing hip, both front and back.
Can you show that again, Michelle? I had a hard time seeing you because you're little.
Little. Lower body or upper?
The lower. Thank you.
Okay, so
that's better. Now I can see. Thank you.
Bending my knee. I'm lifting up towards the ceiling and reaching it over like I'm doing a scorpion in yoga, if you've ever done that. And I flop over onto my back, then I pull that same knee into my chest, bring it across my body. Notice I'm not doing anything with my upper body. And then straightening my leg.
Thank you.
And then a good one, especially for cyclists, it's rocking is the next sequence, but I like taking my leg out to the side and just going back and forth. You can do this from your forearms. You can do it from your hands. And you want to try to get as much range of motion as possible. And again, eyes are up, tongue is on the roof of your mouth, and you're breathing in and out of your nose. I would go into depth about the science, but you don't need to know that. If you want to know more, I can send it to you. And then the last thing I like to do is crawling. So cross pattern is a very mental thing. And you can do this, like if you have sore wrists or sore knees and this bothers you, you can do it on the floor. But again, just like a baby would, eyes up, you're watching where you're going. I like to do it off my knees with my knees hovering. And you'll actually get a little core workout. You can reverse it. Good for your shoulders. As you go, you want to grip the ground. But really important to keep your eyes, because your eyes connect to your brain, which also will connect in your breath. It's a whole thing, right? And you'll probably learn a little bit more about that at the next training or whatever. So just keep that in mind. Always breathing in through the nose. You may learn a different way to breathe, but as a warm-up, and I will also tell you, if I am climbing a hill and I'm struggling, I will incorporate that tongue on the roof of my mouth, and I will slow breathe in through my nose, out through my nose. Next thing you know, I'm like chugging up that hill. So try that the next time you're climbing and you're just sucking air, tongue on the roof of your mouth, and just take your breaths nice and easy but deep. So just as we did in the very beginning where you were taking that breath down deep into your belly, try that, because oftentimes we're breathing up here and we can't get all the oxygen that our body needs unless we're really deeply breathing. So think about that next time you are riding. All right, foam rolling. This is your BFF. If you've never used this before you ride or after you ride, I would highly recommend. For 20 bucks, you can get this on Amazon. You'll pay twice as much if you buy it in the store. But the skin surface of your body, that's the biggest organ that we have, right? So there's a lot of stimulation that can occur when you are getting ready to ride, just by foam rolling in general. What I tend to do when I'm foam rolling is I'm looking for what I call trigger points. So those might be little adhesions that you have that can cause further tightness within the muscles. So start at just above your ankles. If this bothers your wrists, you may just want to kind of do this with the foam roller, but if you can, to have more pressure downward, you want to pick your butt up and go back and forth. You can do one leg at a time and make this a little bit more intense by crossing the opposite leg over top. That's going to give you a little bit more downward pressure, and you'll notice that I am turning my toes in and out. And you can also point your toes and flex your feet. And basically what you're searching for is those trigger points. And you'll find them. It's just like when you're getting massaged and the massage therapist is going along and it's like bump, bump. You find the same thing in your calves, right? And then you just work your way up. So maybe 30 seconds-ish on each calf. If you find a trigger point, you can just apply a little bit more downward pressure on top of that trigger point. Just hold it there. You can point and flex. You can circle your toes to try and release that. And then you're just working your way up your hamstrings. And I would actually do this before I even started with the breath work and the original strength stuff. And again, I'm turning my toes in and out. And then I'm gonna get on top, have a seat. Take your right foot, cross it over your left knee, and then hop over on that left butt cheek. And again, you're searching for trigger points, right? So the goal is this to improve blood flow, to get your body ready to move, whatever movement it is that you're planning to do, and then switch. And again, if you find anything, you just want to sit on it, kind of put a little bit more downward pressure. You can also use tennis balls, lacrosse balls, AccuMobility balls, whatever might work for you. Then I like to go up above the lumbar. This is a great one for cycling as well. Just work the back. And then from here, you can roll over onto your side. This one tends to not be fun for many people when you first start. So you want to be on the muscle, not the rib cage, right? I'm on that lat muscle. I'm going to pick up my bottom hip and I'm just going to rock back and forth just a little bit. I might be going 2 inches, just the length of that muscle. And then I'm going over to the other side doing the same thing. And again, you want to make sure that you're breathing, right? Never holding your breath. All right, talked about tight hip flexors. Usually tight hip flexors lead right into tight quadriceps, right? So easiest way to roll your quads, and you could do this one at a time. I usually do both. Hop on top. I got my sore legs. And I'm turning my toes in and out. Don't tend to usually find something like a knot in my quads, but my sports chiropractor seems to be able to find them quite easily. And then this one's tougher. I also have a round ball that is made out of foam that looks like this. Much easier to do your inner thigh with. But if you don't have that, just turn this guy on an angle and just go inside and outside. And that little nasty guy can get lit up pretty easily. And I'm just going to the inside of my thigh area, upper thigh area. Show you on this side. Kind of hard to get that one, but you can get it. As far as the outside portion of your thigh, IT band, I don't know, you 6 of one, half a dozen another. I've heard that that area is so thick and fibrous that foam rolling it doesn't do diddly. That's where you might need somebody to really dig in there. But if you were to do it, I would just cross my top leg over my bottom leg. It's not going to hurt you. I just don't know how much benefit you're going to get from it. But you can always try. Might not feel great. Any questions on the foam rolling or the original strength? All good, pretty straightforward. And then what did I want to show you? Oh, as far as stretches are concerned, and this would be more for, I already showed you the hip flexor stretch too, right? You can also do this on the floor. So in a half kneeling position, I tend to like to walk my foot pretty far forward, and then a little extra benefit, reach the opposite arm up and overhead. And again, just making sure you're breathing while you're doing this. And I like to kind of tuck my pelvis under before I lean forward. So that's a good one. If there are any yogis out there, I also love the pigeon stretch. And then you got bonus if you can reach back and grab your foot and stretch the quad. As you stretch your inner thigh and your glute, on this one, it's really important to keep your front foot flexed and really think about lengthening your leg in the back and squaring your hips off. Because if you're over here, you're not going to get that stretch deep into your hips. So you want to be kind of square. Another good one for hip flexors is getting into a frog position. So this is another good yogi stretch, but your toes are turned out. Again, keep your feet flexed to protect your knees and just rock back and forth. If you've ever done yin yoga, I used to teach that. So many great hip openers you can do to try to alleviate those tight hip flexors. And then I wanted to show you how you can test your glute strength. So we can all do this together. And it'd be great if you could have somebody watch you while you do this, because you can't really see what's going on. But this is actually a glute test that I do with my golfers. It's part of the screening process to check to see if their glutes are weak. So when your glutes are weak, what's going to happen is your hamstrings or your lower back can kick in to help you hold the bridge position. So if you start feeling cramping or pain in either of those two areas, chances are, because your hip flexors are tight, that these guys are sleepy too. And again, that's a result of us being in that seated position the majority of our day. So what you're going to do is bring your feet and your knees together, and you're going to walk your heels as close to your butt as possible. Squeeze your inner thighs together. You're going to take your hands right over top of your chest together. Then you're going to extend your right foot, and I'm keeping my knees glued together so they're not coming apart. And then you're going to lift up into a bridge position, and you're trying not to shake, cramp, or whatever. And you're trying to hold as long as you can, like 0 to 5. If you're feeling like you're really shaking, or you're getting that cramping in your hamstring or in your lower back, if you can't hold that for, I think it's even 10 seconds, then you definitely have glute weakness. If somebody's watching you while you're doing it and your hip drops, glute weakness. And you should actually feel your butt muscle firing, right? And then you want to test the other side and do the same thing. So that's something for you to play around with. And if you decide, well, crap, my booty is weak as shit, then what can you do about it? Bridges, hip thrusters, deadlifting, those are the best things to do for your squat, for your glutes. And I also do love my sandbag. And I love doing what's called bird dog drags. You can progress this in many ways, but I love this tool. You can do it with a kettlebell. Not my favorite thing to do, but it works. You get a nice little mini torture band. Put it on tops of your feet. Come onto your hands and knees. My toes are tucked behind me. I got this bag right up against my knees. My hands are under my shoulders. I'm gripping. So here's my setup. I'm going to grab one hand under this handle. At the same time, I'm extending my other leg back. Return. Boom. Return. It's amazing how much you get across your body doing an exercise like that. And I could show you, oh my gosh, you could do these too on your back. This is more for your abs, but another great exercise that I love. Dead bugs with load are going to be that much more effective. Extending overhead, pulling on the handles. So I'm getting shoulders, abs, glutes, and I'm having a much better effective use of my time hitting lots more muscles in that space doing that exercise. Any questions about anything so far?
What's the name of the bag thing they use?
The one that I like, and let me know because I can probably get you a discount on it. It's called the Ultimate Training Sandbag, or the Ultimate, what is it? Ultimate Sandbag? Yeah. I can send you the link for that. I used to be a master trainer for the guy that invented the program. He had like lots of spine issues, former athlete, and he created this whole dynamic variable resistance training program that would address corrective exercises. So it was pretty good. And what I noticed was when I started using it with my clients, their core strength got so much faster, stronger, faster, utilizing something like that versus just having them do a corrective exercise, because you're adding load to movement and it just speeds the strength process up that much. Plus, there's a lot that you can do to correct imbalances and posture issues. So, wonderful program. I use it all the time. Anything else? I think I covered everything I wanted to. Oh, some exercises you can do for lower back strengthening that don't require any type of equipment. IYTWs. And you probably, if you've ever done any kind of physical therapy for your shoulders or your lower back, you've probably done these before. So you're down on your belly, feet are flat on the ground, and I think of like pushing my feet into the ground. I'm pushing my belly into the ground, my hips into the ground, but I'm pulling my belly button up, and I'll lift. Here's an I and lower, keeping my chin and my gaze down, lift, lower, and you just change your arm position literally. Y, exhale up, W, inhale, exhale, T. So like 2 to 3 sets of anywhere from 10 to 15 will really help you strengthen your lower back and make your riding a little more comfortable as well. But really making sure that you use this guy before and after you ride. Doing a little warm up. There's a great sequence that Tim Anderson had posted on YouTube. I'll see if I can either find the one that I recreated or the one that he did, that really gets your whole body warmed up, and everything is connecting your breath to your movement, right? So thinking about ways to move your body in all directions, and your ankles are really important. I could go into a whole other lecture on stability and mobility, but I won't bore you with that. But some joints are meant to be mobile and some joints are meant to be stable. And when I gave you that example of the golfer, when he was, he or she are doing their swing and they're going to make it happen regardless. When golfers have lower back pain, a lot of that is due to the fact that they can't move through the middle part of their back, so their body will move through their lumbar spine. Fortunately, in cycling, we don't have to worry about that. But rotational sports, pickleball, I mean, that's huge right now. Really important to make sure that, the joints that are meant to be stable are stable, and the joints that are meant to be mobile are mobile. And usually it's stable, mobile, stable, mobile, stable, mobile, working all the way up from the ground to your head. So something that, you might want to look into as well. So any questions? That pretty much wraps up what I wanted to go over.
Can you tell us about like what you do for work and how to work with you and all that?
Oh, yeah, that would be smart. I didn't even introduce myself, did I?
You just dove in. You were so excited.
No, man, I was so excited talking about the fire. So, I've been in the fitness industry for a really long time. 94 is when I first got my first certification, and then I was in the insurance industry. It's kind of like my fun job. And then I had a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a newborn on the way, and I got laid off from my insurance job. So it's like, okay, what can I do that's flexible? And that's when I got into personal training. But really, I didn't have a mentor per se. So I had to navigate my own way and find what really resonated with me most. And I have to say, it was probably in 2012 when I went and did my functional movement screen certification. And then I did dynamic variable resistance training, where like everything just clicked. And I'm like, oh, really your body is meant to move, and it's meant to move together, like as one unit. You don't sit on a bike and just move your leg, right? Your whole body has to support you on that bike. So, what is the most optimal way to train your body, and the importance of doing the breath work, doing the foam rolling, and really taking your warm up as part of your workout. So you never want to skip that. And I'm not a huge fan of jumping on the treadmill for 10 minutes. I like to do a functional warm up. So used to own a gym in Pennsylvania till COVID. I've had a lot of people walk through my gym, a lot of clients that I've trained, that I've been able to get a good feel for how to assess somebody. And it's funny, I'll watch somebody ride and look at their posture and think to myself, oh my gosh, that guy just needs to start doing more rowing. He's got to stretch his chest. So the same thing you can do for a golfer, you can do for a cyclist. And, I think the joy that we get out of cycling, and the lack of impact that the sport has on your body, is so great. But still, we can get injured from repetitive overuse, not resting, not foam rolling, having those imbalances. So cutting all that stuff off at the pass is what's really going to launch you into being able to do this into your 80s, which is really our goal, right? Keep going, just keep going. As far as what I'm trained in, I can't even list the amount of certifications that I have, because it's just been such a passion of mine to learn as much as I possibly can. Lately, I've been working with older populations. So, I had a woman client who I've been training for years, and she wound up having to have a lumbar fusion and a laminectomy. And she's like, oh, and by the way, I'm not going to physical therapy. You're just going to help me come back. And I'm like, oh, okay. But she's amazing. She's 80 years old, and she's doing things that I wish my mom would have been doing. So really, it's keeping people into play and doing the things that they want to be able to do, but also like daily functioning in life as we're getting older. So keep moving. And if you guys have any questions, if you want a training program or an exercise stretching program, anything that you think could help you, just hit me up. I have an app that I run all my programs through. It's pretty simple to use. If you're not technologically into that, I can do anything on YouTube. Just have a lot of resources, and truly, I'm passionate about fitness, but what makes it even better is when I can talk to cyclists and golfers and people that are already motivated, They just don't know what to do to help themselves out. And that kind of gets me all jazzed up. So if you ever have any questions, my contact information I'll put up here. I also do specialize in weight loss and hormones. Women are kind of my jam. Oh, so before I quit, the best news is you can make some changes to help yourself. If you could think about 2 areas you would like to implement that you either feel tight or you feel weak, what would they be? And is there something that you would like to begin today to offset some of those imbalances? So anybody wants to take themselves off mute and share, I can give you some quick tips on what I would suggest for whatever it is that you're feeling. Not a doctor, but I do know the body well. So go ahead, ask away.
Michelle, I want to thank you for the webinar, and I want to make you laugh because I'm a cyclist and a triathlete, and I joined a women's golf league this year, 9-hole group, and I have to share that my warm up before 9 holes of golf is a run. Which, right, not exactly the best stretching warm up. So I just wanted to make you laugh. I think I have a little bit of work to do before I play golf this year. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Awesome to know.
I probably have imbalances, but I kind of have an idea of what I think I need to do for my lower back to get
Yeah,
ready for golf.
and when it comes to golf, there's just the one thing that stuck with me when I did my Titleist performance certification was in golf, your glutes are king and your abs are queen. So
Okay.
make sure you're strengthening your glutes. And I mean, honestly, there's like a 16 screen process that I take my golf clients through, where literally it's insane. I mean, it makes sense, but it's a physical screen, and then I will actually have them hit golf balls, the little foam ones, and it relates. It's crazy.
Oh,
So I can already do their physical screen, and then I'm gonna say, oh my God, they probably have a sway or whatever it might be. It's pretty amazing how the body works. So
yeah.
well, that's exciting. You must be retired if you're doing all those things.
Right, I did. I've been retired a year and a half, and I was determined to play golf, add it to my repertoire of swim, bike, and run and strength training. So it's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Good for you. Well, I will tell you that strength training will take you leaps and bounds into anything that you're doing.
Yeah. No, I
But
I
just
do
make sure
that, and yeah.
strength training is just as important as all the sports, but what leads up to the strength training is even more important, especially as we're getting older and we want to be able to maintain our muscle mass and maintain our mobility. And it's something you just have to work on.
Oh yeah, I do. I do. But thank you very much. I do definitely appreciate.
You're very welcome. Anybody else? Something they want to work on or have a question? Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, I have been doing mobility now for about 6 months, and it's like totally changed everything. Like it's been awesome for me. But the one thing that I don't, the second question you said, is there something you want to begin today? I really need to work on breath work big time. And I used to do yoga, but I want to do breath work more. Not, I don't want to do yoga necessarily, like do a yoga class, but I just want to incorporate the breath work more into like just my routine, my mobility, my warm-ups, and like I get stuck. Like, okay, what do I do for breath work? Like the examples you gave tonight were great because I'm going to incorporate them immediately because I could already tell a difference. Like just doing with you tonight, I felt really great. So, I mean, I don't know if like there's other types of breath work that you would
I will tell
recommend.
you, there's so much, and that's one thing that I'm definitely interested in actually learning more about. But one of the things, hi there, one of the things that I had learned somewhere along the line, I actually found out later on that one of my clients' chiropractors was having them do. But I talked earlier about the diaphragm. So this is just something to try, right? It's not necessarily the most comfortable thing, but try it. If you take your 4 fingers and kind of find your under your rib cage. Fortunately, my abs are really tight, so you have to you have to kind of relax. If you have strong abs, it might take you a little bit. I know. Go lay down. Lay down. So I'm sitting cross-legged. I'm finding the top part of my rib cage. I'm going to take a deep breath in, and as I exhale, aside from getting kissed by my dog, I'm going to hook my fingers actually underneath my rib cage as I'm exhaling. And then I'm going to breathe in and come right back up. Exhale and come forward. And you can actually get your fingers underneath your rib cage and feel your diaphragm, which, by the way, is a muscle, right? So that's one way. And you could probably do that for 3 or 4 times and really lengthen your exhalation, and you'll feel how much looser you are. So again, I haven't done that in forever, but it'd probably be a great thing to do, especially when you're doing either like riding for speed or doing a lot of climbing, where you know you're going to have to take those deep breaths and get deep into your abdomen. So that would be something to try. Another thing oh, thank you. Not the ball that I was going to use, but she just brought it to me. In your shoulder blade area, and this is kind of helpful if you have somebody else find it, but if you like raise your arm up and you find the bottom of the triangle in your shoulder blade and you just work your fingers over, that's about where your T10 is. And you take the ball and you put it on top of that and come down and just let your body weight down and breathe. That will also help release, because what happens is that T10 is where you bend, right? And a lot of times that'll get jacked up. So if you're having a massage done and they get down to that area and you're like, oh, what is that? It's from that, right? So working on some breath while you're releasing that as well. But I really like that diaphragm release. And you can kind of like work your way down. The other thing, as far as, has anybody ever had their psoas released? It's nasty. It's really nasty. But you can do the same thing. Daisy, drop it. She's so smart. The top of your hip, if you find that and you work like 3 fingers in, that's about where you're going to find your psoas. And again, put the ball down, take a deep breath in, lay on top of it, exhale, and just let it sit. And then work your way down the line, almost like you're paralleling your hip bone. That will help release your psoas, which is really your deep abdominal muscle that helps you do this. Which, you know, we're in flexion, right? So if all these muscles are tight, your deep abdominal muscles are probably going to be tight as well. So trying to open them up, you're probably going to feel a lot less stress on your lower back, and you won't feel as tight in those hip flexors as well. So
this is all amazing. Thank you very much. And I assume a lot of this applies to runners as well. So if you're multi-sport.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, just making sure that you're really taking as much time. Somewhere along the lines, I heard some stat like as you age, you should spend X more time on mobility and stretching versus doing the actual thing. And the older you get, the more that time expands because as we're aging, especially as females, we don't have the estrogen, the testosterone. So, you know, we're at like a double, it's like a double disadvantage, right? So just making sure that if you want to keep in play, then you got to work a little extra harder doing the things to prepare yourself for movement. And really the foam roller is your bestie. And you know, keeping the joints that are supposed to be mobile, and the joints that are to be stable, is really important, and really addressing those imbalances. So, any other questions?
I was just gonna say my massage therapist does the psoas release, and I almost cry every single time.
Pretty much.
It's
Pretty
brutal.
It is nasty. So normally if I do a raffle, I have like that little spinner thing and I'll do it live, but I don't have everybody's names. Do you want to quickly write everybody's name down for me, Hunter, and then
Yeah.
just draw? And then if you guys want my contact information, oops, did I just delete it? I think I did. Hang on. No, I didn't. I just added a. So that's my email. You can, I don't know why I don't have the rest of it on there. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm not quite as active there as I am in my Facebook group. Facebook group is Menopause Mastery Fit Tips and Fat Loss. And I do want to get back to doing more of a regular, my putting my workouts out there on Instagram. It's at Coach Michele with 1L M Fitness. I could probably just type this on here. This must be an old slide because I used to have IG.
I love your workouts. I have them in my rotation.
Oh, good. Kim, you're Sue's sister, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
I can recognize your voice.
Yeah, she's on this call, I think, too.
I can only see
I
5,
am.
6 of you or something. And you could probably take a screenshot of this.
And I'm definitely interested in one of those sandbags, so
Yeah.
definitely reach out. I'll email you.
Maybe we can
And
get a better price 2 for 1.
well, I think what they did just have a 35% off for the holidays too.
Of course, we missed it.
And if I were you, I would just get the what the heck is it called? The core bag. There's so much you can do with that. And I'm gonna drop in the chat. Did you guys get that? Anybody that needed it, my contact info?
I can work on putting it in our next newsletter too.
Okay, awesome.
And I can share the wheel of names here. Can you guys see that?
And you'll be able to spin it.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm losing my screen. Come on. Hold on. And get it in the middle here. Okay, can everyone see that now?
Love it.
Okay.
All right, so I have a friend who now owns a company called Artletic. Patricia, woohoo! And he is donating. Let's see if I can find it. And he will send me a code. Well, I'll get it to you. I'll get it to Hunter.
Yeah.
And then we'll get it to you. It is a wind jacket.
Cool.
And their stuff is really nice. Actually, I don't even know how I got into it, but I was somehow in a women's cycling racing group, and the woman that actually started the company, I'm telling you, they're the best cycling shorts ever. She developed women's cycling shorts,
Mhm.
and they are amazing. And that's who decided he would gladly raffle for me.
That's
So
awesome.
congratulations. Here is the website for ultimatesandbagtraining.com.
Cool.
And what you would want is the core bag, really for the corrective type things. And if you need to know how to use it, just let me know.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for tuning in, guys. It was my pleasure.
Thank you so much. It was great seeing you.
Good to see you too. Thanks for my wow stickers.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And yeah, I will, send me that code and I'll get that to Patricia and I'll get all your contact info in our next newsletter too.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, guys, have a good night.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye,
Thank
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.